Hey guys, welcome back to my weekly options video series. In today's video, I'll be sharing with you my options trading game plan for the upcoming week. Once again, if you're new to trading options, I will definitely recommend you to start paper trading using the Thinkorswim platform first. I hope you'll find today's video useful. As usual, I will start off with a quick recap of the opportunities I talked about in my last video, so let's get started. So just a quick recap on the general market for this week. This week had been quite a bull run for many of the stocks. As of Friday's close, you can see that almost all the sectors are up in green, from tech, consumer discretionary, healthcare, industrials, and financials. It was quite an all-rounded bull run this week. A few of the tech stocks like Microsoft and Facebook also hit their all-time high, so definitely a good run for many of the stocks this week. And if you look at the chart for S&P 500, for the entire week, it was also consistently hitting new all-time highs. You can see that it has actually broken the trend line and is on a clear uptrend. However, the uptrend is starting to look a bit parabolic. Although I do expect the bull run to continue, but at this rate, I think it is unsustainable and there is likely going to be some pullback next week before going higher. So coming back to the discussion on some of the stocks that I talked about in my earlier videos, if you recall about 2 weeks ago, I did mention that I entered a diagonal spread position on Microsoft. So I entered a total of 3 contracts. If you look at my spreadsheet over here, I have 2 contracts over here and 1 more contract over here. So the reason why I split them up is because I've actually already closed 2 of the contracts and I still have 1 more contract that is left open. So in my video last week, I did mention that I wrote the short call, the $240 strike short call that was expiring on the 1st of April. I wrote it to the $245 strike call that was expiring on the 9th of April, which is yesterday. But as you can tell from yesterday's close, the prices of Microsoft was at $255, which was way past my $245 strike call. So that happened. Microsoft actually shot past the $245 mark on Monday when it opened. So on Monday, it was a pretty tough decision whether I should close my entire diagonal spread position for profit or should I take a little bit of risk and just close my short call and let the long call run for a little bit of profit. So in the end, I ended up closing only the short call and leaving my long call still open, and that turned out to be a very good decision. So if you look at the entry and exit prices, so on the 1st of April, I actually wrote the short call for a credit of $1.18. And on Monday, which is the 5th of April, that was when prices of Microsoft shot past the $245 strike call, and I decided to close that short call for a debit of $415. So if you look at the position for the short call, I actually lost about $900 in total for the contract, for the short call contract. But overall, the strategy still made a lot of money because the long call was deep in the money. And on the 9th of April, which is yesterday, I actually made the decision to take some money off the table. So I actually closed 2 of the 3 long calls for a price of $40.50. So I entered on the 26th of March for $21.65 and I exited 2 contracts for $40.50. So the net profit for this diagonal spread for 2 contracts was a profit of $3,118, which is quite a significant amount, I would say. So it was a really good run for Microsoft. I still have 1 more position open, 1 more long call position open, which I have not closed yet. So coming back to the charts on Microsoft, if you look at the 5th of April, that was when prices shot past the $245 mark. I originally thought that this will be a strong resistance level, but when prices started to move past the $245 mark, there was a high probability that it will go out even further. So I decided to close the short call and just leave my long call position open. and that turned out to be a very wise decision because as of Friday's close, Microsoft reached an all-time high of $255. I decided to take some profit off the table, so I closed 2 of my 3 positions. And for my last position, I actually entered a limit order, which unfortunately wasn't filled. So I'm looking to close this position early next week. If you look at the charts over here, you can see that prices have pretty much gone up pretty quickly. So I do expect some pullback over the next couple of trading days. So I intend to close this position maybe on Monday or Tuesday if the prices are good enough. And this has been a really good run, I would say. So for those who have watched my earlier videos, I hope you managed to make some profit from this bull run on Microsoft as well. So coming back to the Excel spreadsheet, if you recall, 2 weeks ago, I also did briefly mention that I entered a diagonal spread position on Apple. This time around, I entered a total of 4 contracts on the 29th of March. And if you look at the short call over here, it's actually the $127 short call expiring on the 9th of April, which is yesterday. So as of yesterday's close, Apple's price was already at $132, which is way past my $127 strike call. So this trade is pretty similar to Microsoft. I did close the short call early. The only difference I would say is if you look at the entry and exit. So I entered the diagonal spread position on the 29th of March. For the short call, I entered for a credit of 67 cents. I ended up closing this short call also on the 5th of April for a debit of 70 cents. So the reason why I was able to close for such a small loss is because actually on the 5th of April, prices of Apple did not shoot past the $127 strike call. So what made me close the short call early was also partly because of Microsoft, and back then also because the S&P 500 was actually very bullish. So I decided to just take the risk and close my short call for Apple for a small debit, and that turned out to be a very good decision. So I'm up about $4,000 for Apple as of now. I still have 4 long calls open. So looking at the charts of Apple, if you look on the 5th of April, you can see that prices of Apple actually didn't shoot past the $127 mark, but I still ended up closing the $127 strike call because I was looking at the S&P 500 and looking at Microsoft and several other tech stocks like Facebook. It was going up really strongly, and I just had this feeling that Apple will actually break past this $127 by Friday, and that turned out to be a very good decision to close the short call. So as you can see, as of Friday's close, it's reaching an all-time high of almost $133. So I actually entered a limit order to close half of my long call position for Apple, but it ended up not getting filled. So probably in early of next week, I'll try to close half of my position and take some money off the table, and I'll leave the other 2 contracts to run for a longer period of time. So same thing for Microsoft. I hope that those who have watched my earlier videos, you managed to make some money off Apple as well. So the other opportunity that I talked about was Nike. So if you recall in my earlier video, I actually did mention that the 150-day moving average, which is the line in green, is likely going to provide some support level for Nike. And also if you look at the $132 price level, it's actually quite a strong support level as well. So it was tested here in January and tested here again in March. And now it's tested for the 3rd time before bouncing off higher. So last week I did mention that I was monitoring this stock pretty closely to see if there are any bullish indicators. So if there is, I would likely enter a diagonal spread for this as well. And there was actually a bullish signal on the 5th of April. But at that point in time, I was actually too preoccupied with my Microsoft and Apple calls that I totally missed this opportunity, and the stock just went higher. So I decided not to chase the stock for this, and prices eventually retraced back to the 150-day moving average on Thursday. But I have not taken any positions on this yet. I'll likely continue to monitor this for the next couple of days to see if this 150-day moving average support level will hold before I take any positions on this. So the other stock that I talked about in last week's video was actually Alibaba. I did mention that the $222, $223 will likely be a strong support level for Alibaba. I was hoping for any bullish signal this week so that I can enter likely a diagonal spread for this as well. But I didn't find any opportunity for Alibaba this week. But seems like it is testing the $223 pretty strongly on Friday. And as of Friday, there was news coming out that actually the Chinese government actually gave a $3 billion, more than $3 billion fine for Alibaba. So shall see how the market reacts to this news next week. Likewise, if there is a bullish entry and the support level is not broken, I will also likely enter a diagonal spread moving forward for this. So moving on to the trading opportunities for next week. In this video, I'll be sharing with you 3 stocks that I'm monitoring very closely. So the first stock is actually Zoom, ticker symbol ZM. If you recall, in one of the videos 2 weeks ago, I did mention that Zoom was already on my watch list. I was waiting for a bullish signal where I will likely enter a diagonal spread for this as well. So since then, prices have pretty much fluctuated around the $320 level. I have not entered any trades for this yet. So hopefully next week, if there is a bullish signal, I will likely enter a diagonal spread for this. As you can see, prices have pretty much found support at the 50-day moving average, which is the line in blue. So hopefully if this support line doesn't get broken, I will be able to enter a trade. So if you look at the daily candlestick chart for Zoom, the $275 price level was previously a strong resistance level. So moving forward, I do expect this to be a strong support level as well. So if I do enter a diagonal spread for this, I will likely cut loss if prices fall below this $275 mark, or if I lose more than 50% of my max loss for the trade. But we'll see how this goes next week. So the next stock I'm sharing with you would be JD.com, ticker symbol JD. So JD.com is an e-commerce giant in China. In the last couple of weeks, due to the Chinese government crackdown, many of the tech giants like Tencent, Alibaba in China have seen a significant retracement in prices, and JD.com was affected as well. Prices seem to have found support at the 200-day moving average, which is the line in red. The $79 price level is also a strong support level, and this was tested a couple of times since last year. I do feel that the correction for the Chinese tech stocks is a little overdone. So if prices continue to be supported on the 200-day moving average, and if there is a bullish signal next week, I will likely enter a diagonal spread for this as well. So if I do enter a position next week, I will likely cut loss if prices close below the next support level, which is the $72 price level, or if it reaches 50% of my max loss for the trade. Again, we shall see what happens next week. So the third opportunity that I'm sharing with you would be biotech ETF, ticker symbol XBI. I started monitoring this ETF about 2 weeks ago. It previously found support at the 200-day moving average, which is the line in red, and on Friday it retraced back to the 200-day moving average again. So if this 200-day moving average support level is not broken and there is a bullish signal next week, I will also likely enter a diagonal spread for this. So if I do enter a position next week, I will likely cut loss if prices close below the next support level, which is the $123 price level, or if it reaches 50% of my max loss for the trade. Again, we shall see what happens next week. So that's pretty much my trading plan for next week. I hope you have found this video useful. If you have any questions or suggestions, feel free to leave them in the comment section below and I'll try my best to answer them. If you are new to my channel and enjoyed watching this video, be sure to subscribe as I post videos like this every Sunday and sometimes on Thursdays as well. Happy trading and thanks for watching.